The storm hit the city like it had a grudge against every fragile soul living in it. Wind howled through the narrow alleys, rain slammed against the broken rooftops of old buildings, and streetlights flickered like they were fighting for their last breath. In the middle of that restless night, a man named Adil walked home with his shoes soaked and his back aching, but he still carried a small box of medicine tucked under his arm like it was treasure. He was dead tired, but he kept going because his 8-year-old daughter, Talia, needed him, and he'd promised her he'd always come home no matter what. What he didn't know, what he couldn't possibly know, was that someone out there had been searching for him for years. And tonight, fate was finally tired of waiting. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the magic of unexpected blessings, make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Your support keeps stories like this alive. Adil had been a single dad for 3 years, ever since his wife passed away in a hospital they couldn't afford for more than 2 nights. She had died holding his hand, telling him not to break. But Adil had broken, silently, carefully, in places no one could see. He worked 2 jobs now, a day shift at a scrap shop and a night shift cleaning offices in a building where people wore suits that cost more than he earned in a month. He didn't envy them, he just wished life would ease its grip on his throat a little. Talia was his reason to breathe, and every time he caught her smiling, something inside him fought to keep going. That night, as the storm grew harsher, he took a shortcut through an empty road lined with closed shops. The sky kept tearing itself open with lightning, and the wind shoved him sideways like it wanted him off the street. He kept walking, holding the medicine tighter against his chest. Halfway down the road, just past the old petrol station, he spotted a car pulled over to the side, a sleek black luxury car with headlights flickering weakly. At first, he thought whoever owned it had already called for help, but then he heard something faint, the soft, trembling sound of a woman trying not to cry. Adil hesitated. He was exhausted, soaked, and desperate to get home. But something in him wouldn't let him walk past. He approached the car, careful and slow. Inside, a woman in an elegant dress sat gripping the steering wheel like it held her together. Her hair was dripping from the rain, her makeup smudged, and there was a cut on her forehead where she must have hit something. She looked far from the image of glamour her expensive car suggested. Her breathing was uneven, and she seemed frightened, not of him, but of everything happening around her. He tapped on the window, and she looked up, startled and vulnerable. Adil motioned for her to unlock the door. When she finally did, a gust of cold air rushed out as if the car itself had been holding its breath. She said her name was Zara, though her voice shook so much he almost didn't hear it. Her car battery had died after she hit a piece of debris on the road, and her phone had fallen into a puddle outside when she tried stepping out. She was stranded, injured, and terrified. Adil didn't think twice. He offered her his jacket even though it was soaked, then helped her step out of the car carefully. She winced with every move, and he realized her ankle was twisted. With the storm raging, there was no way she could stay in the car or walk anywhere. So Adil did something he hadn't done for anyone in years, he let a stranger lean on him. He guided her slowly, step by step, through the rain to the small shop canopy nearby, where they could at least stay dry for a moment. She kept apologizing, her voice trembling, but Adil shook his head gently each time. He wasn't the type to leave someone alone in the dark. Kindness cost nothing, he'd always believed, even when life wasn't kind back. He tried to flag down passing vehicles, but none stopped. People were afraid, or simply too busy surviving the storm themselves. Eventually, he crouched down beside her and told her she could sit on his back so he could carry her to the bus stand 2 streets away. She looked stunned, almost embarrassed, but she nodded because she had no other option. Adil lifted her carefully, ignoring the sharp pain shooting through his shoulder and lower back. Rain poured over both of them as he trudged down the slippery road, step after grueling step. By the time they reached the bus stand, Adil was shaking, partly from the cold and partly from exhaustion. He sat her down gently on the bench, checked her cut, and handed her the small towel he kept in his bag for Talia. She looked at him with eyes full of disbelief. People like him weren't supposed to help people like her, she thought. But Adil wasn't thinking about class, wealth, or differences. He was thinking about how he'd want someone to help Talia if she were ever lost or hurt. An ambulance arrived 20 minutes later, thanks to a passerby who saw them and called emergency services. Zara kept holding onto Adil's sleeve like she didn't want him to disappear before she said something important. But when the medics came, the storm noise swallowed her words. They placed her inside the ambulance, and she reached out as if trying to stop them, trying to tell them something about him. But the door shut, the siren blared, and she was gone. Adil stood alone under the bus stand roof, rain still falling like the sky was mourning something. He could have asked for help or money or recognition, but he didn't. He simply picked up the medicine box, tightened his thin jacket around himself, and walked home. For 2 weeks, life continued as usual, the struggle pressing on his shoulders like it always had. Talia had gotten better with the medicine, and she kept asking why he looked tired all the time. He told her grown-ups had invisible homework that never ended, and she giggled. He didn't mention the woman he'd helped. He didn't expect he'd ever see her again. But fate had its own script. One morning, while Adil was sweeping the lobby of the office building, 3 black luxury cars pulled up outside. Men in suits stepped out, scanning the area with an intensity that made everyone pause. Adil kept sweeping, thinking they were here for some high-profile meeting. But then one of them walked toward him with a photograph in hand. He held it up, and Adil froze. It was him, carrying a woman on his back in the rain. Before he could say anything, the car door opened, and Zara stepped out. She wasn't the frightened, rain-soaked woman he had seen that night. She was polished, confident, wrapped in an expensive coat. But her eyes softened the moment they met his. She walked straight to him, tears gathering in the corners of her eyes. She told him she had been looking for him since the night he saved her, and when she couldn't find him, she used every resource she had. What Adil didn't know was that she wasn't just some wealthy woman, she was Zara Faraz, the CEO of one of the biggest real estate companies in the region. A billionaire. A woman with influence, power, and reach. And she was standing in front of him, thanking him like he had done something extraordinary. She explained that she had been on the road that night because she was searching for someone, a man her late father had once met, a man he claimed had reminded him that goodness still existed. Her father had wanted to meet that man again before he passed, but he couldn't. She had set out that day to find him, but fate led her to Adil instead. When she saw how he carried her through a storm without expecting anything in return, she felt something shift inside her, the same thing her father must have felt years ago. Zara said she wanted to help him. Not as charity. Not as pity. But as gratitude, and as recognition of a kind of heart people rarely carried anymore. She offered him a job in her company with a salary beyond anything he'd dreamed of. She arranged better schooling for Talia. She found him a proper home. Adil didn't know how to react. Part of him felt like crying, part of him felt undeserving, and part of him worried it was all a dream that would vanish if he blinked too hard. But it wasn't a dream. Zara made sure of that. Talia ran into their new apartment that evening, her voice echoing with excitement. Adil watched her explore the rooms, her laughter filling the space like sunshine. For the first time in years, he let his shoulders drop. For the first time in years, he felt the weight lift.